don't see that option, so,
Okay, so it's recording.
okay. In that case, I'll call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Old Lyme Affordable Housing Committee, February 18th, 2021. The meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted on the town YouTube channel. Okay, in attendance, we have myself, Michael Foliano, John Zaccaro, Karen Winters, Harold Thompson, Jen Miller, and Peter Cable. And I see Tom Ortoliva has just joined us.
And John Coughlin joined Michael.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. Okay. Just going through the agenda. Hoping this can be a brief meeting tonight. We just have two items to go through. The first is a approval of the minutes from our January 21st special meeting. I sent those minutes out in advance, so I'll look for a motion to accept those minutes for discussion purposes.
So moved.
Thank you, Karen. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Harold. Okay, any discussion on approving the minutes from January 21st, 2021? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 Any
I
opposed?
abstain.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. Okay, the second item on our agenda is approval of the final findings and recommendations report that I also sent out. It's in essentially the same form as it was last week, except that I did a little wordsmithing on the on section 5, I believe, in the findings, just to hopefully make it a bit more readable, and that was around the need for efficiency and flexibility to overcome challenges. But no materially new content in that report, and the version you have has the Office of Legislative Research report appended to it as an appendix. We had some other, we had the profiles on there before, but there's no specific reference to those as appendices in it. So what we can do is put together a package of supplemental materials to submit with the report when we send it to the Board of Selectmen. And I think that'll give them a pretty good picture. John Zaccaro has let me know he's actually prepared some additional materials on the legal aspects. At this point, I mean, the report is essentially final form. So my suggestion, John, to follow up on that would be that, I haven't thought about this for these many minutes, is that maybe you provide that that's material you created as a memo, and it can be included in the package of supplemental materials that go in along with the profiles.
That's fine with me. I can, it's just a document that's now entitled Research on 8-32, and the salient section that's not included in the OLR report, for those of us who weren't here before the meeting started, is the answer to the question, what does public health and safety mean, which is an essential determination that the Planning and Zoning Commission would have to make in considering an application for affordable housing. There are other things in there that go beyond the OLR report. It's about 4 pages long. And you want me to just send it as a reply to one of your emails, the ones from affordable housing? Does that go to everyone or?
No.
Oh,
Well, at this point, as I said, John, we have it on the agenda to approve the report tonight.
I see that, yeah.
So the material that you brought forward, I mean, if you send that as a memo, that can be transmitted.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, how do you want me to send it?
By email would be fine.
Directly to you or to
The affordable housing address.
Okay, I will do that.
So actually, why don't I look for a motion to approve the report, and then we can have a discussion about this.
I make a motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Karen. Second?
I'll second.
I'll second that. Okay, John, go ahead.
Okay, not good. Okay, so under discussion. So first, just to brief the folks, John has just let me know before the meeting that he's prepared some additional materials on 830G that have not been incorporated into the report. It's on the agenda to approve the report tonight. No one's had a chance to look at this material yet. So my suggestion was that in order to make sure that that material is captured and that our successors have the opportunity to use that information, that John submitted the memo, and it can be included in the package of materials along with all the other reports and documents that we've assembled for our successors and for the Board of Selectmen. And then that would allow us to approve the report as it was distributed tonight.
I think that's a good approach, and I'd like to see that, Michael, if you could pass that on to us too.
I've already sent it to you, Michael. I use that address, affordable housing. So.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
Discussion on the additional information?
Yeah, the additional information from John, how to capture it. Could everybody mute? I'm getting a lot of background noise. Okay, Harold, I think you were asking a question.
No, I'm fine with that. I think that's, it's just to be able to add it to the attachments or the appendix. And, that's a very interesting topic just because, it's kind of subjective. And it really is subjective. What do we deal as, for, safety of individuals and everything. And I think that's been one of the challenges in past times when we looked at affordable housing. So, John, very good. I'm looking forward to reading what you've written.
Well, I think that section 5, which is the section that I'm most concerned about, may provide some clarity on what the commission needs to do when dealing with that issue. But yeah, I agree. It's a amorphous concept.
You're section 5 of 830G.
Section 5 of the materials that I just forwarded to Michael.
But those are on 830, the materials you forwarded are specific to your analysis of 830G?
It's exactly, yes, it's basically the same that I submitted previously, except that section 5 is expanded, which is, section 5 is the one that about the meaning of public health and safety. So.
Okay, so then if there are no other ideas on how to handle this, we'll include John's memo in a supplemental package along with the reports from Partnership for Strong Communities and the Council of Economic Research and some of the other background material that will be in a package of supplemental materials that go with the report. And that'll let us keep going tonight.
That makes sense.
Okay. So in that case, let's go on to the report that was distributed. And I guess I'll open the floor to any comments on that. I've already, of course, after I sent it, I immediately found a typo that I need to correct. In the findings, section 3, there's a missing word in there, but when I'm proofreading, I tend to read what I thought and not what I wrote.
Well, it's like that old meme. Can you find the mistake?
Yeah.
So on page 2, the bottom of paragraph, there's a sentence. The second sentence says the statute places a heavy burden on municipalities. Then it says that have less than 10% of their housing stock qualified as affordable that attempt to defend the appeal. Perhaps change that have to having, just to make the sentence more readable.
Very good.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Got that?
I think I only had one other comment, but it's later on, so I don't know if.
You have the floor, John. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so on page 6, section 3, there's a line in there that concerns me, but this may be a political issue, and I'm just a lawyer. So it says the third line, it begins on the third line up from the bottom of that section 3. It says the risk of exposure to unplanned and possibly unwanted development under CGS section 8-30G. I understand the intent of that sentence, but I think that unwanted, the word unwanted might be interpreted as a dog whistle or a code word. You know, for me, I don't know, does it add anything to this sentence? Is it worth, you know, someone looking at this and saying, oh, I know what they mean by unwanted. They mean, you know, poor people or whatever. So.
Understood, John. Certainly that's not the intent, so.
Oh, I know it's not the intent, but, and I think it is, I think the intent is to highlight the fact that under 8-30G, the commission, because of the burden shifting, is going to lose some control over the developments that the applications that come before them. So, but I don't know how to change that language, or even if anybody else feels the same way I do about it. So,
Well, I would say I'm very interested in what other folks have to say, but I'd be prepared to just drop it and just call it unplanned.
I think that if we find anything that is questionable, then we should try to remove that, because I think people are very emotional about this topic. So the less we can do to inflame that in any way, shape, or form is positive.
I agree.
That it adds anything beyond unplanned. I don't think unwanted really adds anything to the intent that we were going for anyway. So I'm okay with dropping it.
Good catch. So change that to read the risk of exposure to unplanned development under 830G.
Yeah, and I guess I don't have any more comments as far as the language is concerned. I just applaud the amount of work that went into this. And the collation of the data into text was an amazing job. I did have a question about on page 9. It says for Old Lyme, this would require an estimated increase of approximately 50 to 100 units. How was that arrived at? And I apologize if I'm taking up time because I missed 2 meetings in a row. But that was the only other comment I had after reading this document.
That was just a ballpark attempt to look at the point system, and there was such a web of dependencies. It was basically a shot at an over-under, John, and ballparking it.
All right.
Because if you look at the point system, so much depends on exactly what goes in.
Right, and I think there's a difference between a town making its first application and a town making subsequent applications.
Right.
And so we would be making our first application if we did decide to apply for a moratorium. And I think that means that we can include all of the housing stock going back to 1990 and applying the HUE system to that.
Right.
The formula to that. And, I came up with 16 additional units to hit the 2%. But,
Really?
yeah, but, that was just assuming it was a 1-to-1 ratio. Applying the HUE system, you'd need to know exactly what the units are comprised of, and whether we, do we have any housing, affordable housing developments with, multiple units and that kind of thing. But I don't have any objection to making the goal higher because the need is overwhelming here in Old Lyme. So
Well, we need to make it what it actually is, John. So if your calculations say that in a best case scenario, 16 additional units would qualify us for a moratorium?
Well, maybe we just lower the 50 down to, so an increase of somewhere between, 25 and 100. Is that too broad a range?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's
And if we, the new committee, I guess, is the one that will be pursuing this, and they're gonna, when they get into the nuts and bolts, they're really gonna have to look at every housing unit in the town. But 2% of 5,021 is, shoot, I closed my calculator, but so, if anybody
100.
200 to 5,000 is 100.
Yeah, and we have 82 already. So if it were 1-to-1, we would be, we just need 18 more units. It's not 1-to-1 though. You get credit for other types of units. So
if you use a number of 20 or 25, it'd be attainable at least for the next committee.
I think so.
Well, especially if you start looking at accessory apartments and stuff, change the regulations, there might be people coming forward that would say that they could provide us with additional numbers.
Sure.
Maybe it'd be wise on letter A to put, rather than maybe just put for example or something like that, because it's 25 to 50 and 25 to 100 and even 50 to 100 is quite a wide range when you're talking about this type of housing. So it may be beneficial just to say a for instance or for example. It may require an increase of this much or something like that. Because I don't know, the point system is real, so we know it's not a one-to-one, but you don't want to get into all that detail here in this, blurb.
Yeah, or maybe we just cite what the statute requires in terms of housing unit equivalents.
And that's in the, so that whole table is in the appendix from the Office of Legislative Research. So for the purposes of this, how about instead of would require, we soften that to could require
Sure.
an increase
That's great.
of 20 to 100 units, depending on the specific nature of the developments.
Sounds good to me.
Or would it be too soft to say 20 or more? Or is that, 100, I think 100.
I like the 20 or more, because 100 is just going to scare people.
Okay, and remember the context here is not in setting the goal, but in sort of examining the approaches to setting a goal. It's not a goal.
That's true. I'm guessing that they may look at this and include that in their cogitation about goal setting, but you never know. I think that your history of the other towns and how they set their goals is very instructive on the goal setting. That's really
But the other towns, they didn't specifically mention number of units. I don't think they did.
Yeah, they actually, Tom, what they did in at least Essex and Salisbury is they actually targeted a percentage. They targeted 5% and backed that into the number of units they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this sentence, for Old Lyme, I'll go back to would. For Old Lyme, this would require an increase of approximately 20 or more units of affordable housing, depending on the specific nature of the developments.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good. Any, does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, John?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I lied. There was one more little tiny tweak. On page 11, in the conclusion, right smack in the middle, that line that begins with towns like Old Lyme, says with limited and environmentally sensitive available land.
Yep.
I think that limited available land is one thing and environmentally sensitive land is another thing. So when you say limited and environmentally sensitive available land, I didn't understand did you mean that environmentally sensitive land is included in available land? Or are you saying that it's the amount of available land is limited because of the existence of environmentally sensitive?
Yeah, Harold, correct me on this, but this was a pickup from the Plan of Conservation and Development too, which is the land that is available, so the undeveloped land in town. So there's limited availability on that which is undeveloped.
Okay, so then it's accurate the way it's written. if that, oh, I think we lost Michael.
We have land where people have tried to develop, and it goes before wetlands commissions, and wetlands says, no, it's not possible to use this.
Yeah,
And so, portion of this stuff is along in several different areas. We have a lot of ledge, and we have a lot of wetlands, and so there are properties that might have otherwise been utilized, but environmentally they're just not functional.
so
And then
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
My confusion was when I read this, it says with limited and environmentally sensitive available land. Somewhere else in the report, it said something to the effect that 7%, only 7% of the land in Old Lyme is available for development.
Development, that's correct.
So that's what I read limited to mean, to refer to that 7%, and then environmentally sensitive being a subset of that.
Well, I think with the environmentally sensitive land really kind of reduces the availability of, brings us down to 7%, because we've got open areas, but they are,
Hey,
wetlands.
this is Michael. I just jumped back in by phone. Something's going wrong with my my computer here, but I'm back in by phone.
Oh,
Okay, well, we finished, Michael. We sorry, no. We were still talking about that phrase, limited environmentally sensitive available land, and I think it's turning into, I didn't understand it, but it makes sense. I'm not sure if.
well, but see, let's think about changing it though. If it doesn't make sense, we could just maybe talk about the fact that we only have 7% available.
Right.
And-
That's earlier in the report.
And so when we talk about environmentally sensitive, that would be included in land that's really not available. So we can take that out, just saying that that's all we have.
Okay. So we'll just drop in the environmentally sensitive clause.
No, that's a very good question. I think we probably should. Just because, if we don't just drop it, then we have to kind of explain why we are keeping it in, or what does it mean? And so it would be, if they want to come back and talk to us about it, or talk to anyone about it, or any commission about it, then that we could discuss it in that aspect.
Now, I'm comfortable with dropping the environmentally sensitive there because environmentally sensitive is one of the reasons that land can be limited. So we'll just change that sentence to small towns like Old Lyme with limited available land
Yes,
and limited access to, okay.
yes, that's a good catch, John.
Okay, now I promise I'm really done with it. Okay.
Okay. So who's next up at bat here?
Michael, I didn't have anything. I read through it a couple times and, didn't really have any further observations from the last draft. So I think it's a great job.
Thanks, Jen.
I'm with you, Jen. Everything that I had addressed before has already been updated. Thank you, Michael. You've done a tremendous job.
I have to echo that as well. This has been very well written, very well organized, very thorough. I mean, all the references, just incredible. I think this is just an excellent document. And, if the town would have had to pay for this, it would have been big bucks. So thank you, Michael. Thank you for taking this on.
I concur with everyone. And Michael, thank you very much for doing it. It's a wonderful piece of document. Well, thank you. And I assure you that everyone has fingerprints on this because as I was going through my notes, it was great to see that all the attributions I had in there. So everyone has contributed to this, and I very much appreciate it. I look at myself as kind of a collator, but and also, one of the premises we had coming into this committee, and one of the reasons for doing it was the notion that there was a lot of existing material out there, and I was actually really surprised at the quantity and quality of the research that's out there that's accessible to everyone. So that certainly helped as well. This almost reads as a list of references, but you folks were the glue that put it all together, and very much appreciate that myself. Okay, any other questions? The typo I caught was up in, where was it? It was in 3 in the findings where there had been no progress made towards increasing the supply of affordable in town, and I just didn't put the word housing in. So I added the word housing back in that line. So I'm gonna save this now, and just to recap, so we changed the. Just run through these changes. Hang on one sec while I scroll. Okay, I'm in paragraph 3 under the findings. I added that increasing the supply of affordable housing in town for over 20 years. And in the next sentence, actually the sentence after that, these include negative pressure on the local economy, the risk of exposure to unplanned development under 830G, and the risk of additional pressure from the state. So that was the change in finding section 3, and then down in the recommendations, section 4, under goal setting, we modified the estimate for the moratorium to an increase of 20 or more units from the original 50 to 100. I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
I think you have it all.
Environmentally sensitive in the conclusion.
Ah, that's right. Thank you.
Oh, good catch, Jen.
Yep. Thanks, Jen. And that's actually where my cursor is, right on that. So small towns like Old Lyme with limited available land.
And in the introduction on page 2, you were going to change that have to having. I don't know if it was too small to make a note of. But.
I think I did that, and let's make sure I did that. Housing, page 2. Yep, it's done. Got it.
Right.
Okay. Last call. Okay. And then we'll move the question. All in favor of accepting our final report with the modifications we just went through? By saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passed. And I thank you all very much. This has been, I'll just open up to any closing comments. With this, I believe that part of the document was suggesting to the Board of Selectmen that our work is concluded. So my expectation would be that the committee will be sunset officially by the Board of Selectmen when they receive this at their next opportunity, and there'll be a transition to the new commission. I will put together a package of materials for the new commission. For those of you who would be interested in serving on that, the applications are open. The same form that we put to join this commission. And I'll pause there and just go around for any final comments.
Is your final report available to the public?
I'm not sure who that was, but yes, it will.
And where would you get a copy of it? Will it be online?
Yeah, it'll at least be online, and it'll be filed with the town clerk as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the committee?
My only comment is I've enjoyed meeting with all of you. This has been a very pleasurable experience. Everyone's dedicated to the cause, and everyone's been very open-minded about what our possibilities are. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll echo that. It's really been a pleasure to meet all of you, even though we only met in person once or twice. It's been a real challenge, but I think we've done a credible job, and we're in a position to move the thinking in the town forward seriously in this area. And as I said, I think everybody has their fingerprints on this, and it was a very credible job under really challenging circumstances. So, thank you.
Michael, do you know if there's been interest that people want to join the committee? So other than us, if there's people that have you heard? Do you know?
I have not. I'm aware that there have been some inquiries, but I don't know. I don't know what the applicants will look like at this point.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad there's some interest.
Yep. And just to be clear, so that my understanding is that the folks on this committee will not be considered automatic applicants for the commission. So if there is interest, you'd need to submit a form for the commission.
Okay.
So it's already been voted on by the selectmen that there's definitely going to be a committee?
Actually, the commission there's an ordinance that was approved establishing an affordable housing commission, Tom, and that was passed at the January 26th town meeting. So and I'm not sure when they posted that, but there's I think a 15-day window after the posting of the results of the town meeting that commission actually comes into existence, and then the board will maybe make an appointment to it. That's my understanding. Okay. Any further discussion or comments? And if there are any motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Who's the second? Is that you, Bill?
Tom, the second.
Tom, second. Very good. All in favor of adjournment? Signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you again, everyone.
Okay, so Michael, I should stop the recording now, or,
Yes, please.
okay. Stop.
And then you'll